Philip, it's already 12. Would you like to start?
Yes. Is Hans with us?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
I am with you. Good to see you, Philip.
Okay, I wanted to see you. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Distinguished representative, dear colleagues. Here we are for the second day of our meeting. And I would like to welcome everyone joining us this afternoon. After the excellent presentation and official statements we have heard about yesterday, we will have today, let's say, a more technical day and giving an opportunity to you representatives from different megacities in the region to take the floor and exchange through presentation about your main challenges and interest in participating in such an alliance we are proposing for the region and globally. But before we start our day, I'd like to give the floor to our colleague Hans Telstrup from the Jakarta office, a regional bureau of UNESCO. He's presently the officer in charge of that office, but has the main function of being the regional hydrologist within the framework of the Intergovernmental Hydrological Program in the region, and therefore with a key role in coordinating all our efforts, also in the framework of this Megacities Alliance on climate and water. So Hans, the floor is yours for a few welcoming words.
Thank you very much, Philippe, and welcome once again, everyone, to this second day of the MAWAC first meeting, first discussion, really, for Asia and the Pacific. Thank you very much for your participation in yesterday's discussion, everyone. It was a pleasure to meet all of you. We hope that with this quite intensive discussion with many presentations and a lot of information, you have started forming a sort of an understanding of what the potential for this kind of alliance can be. Hopefully some ideas about what it could mean for you and what you would like to get out of this alliance. And that really is what we will do today. We will hear some technical perspectives on issues relating to water management, to climate issues, to this nexus from some of the cities participating here today. And after that, we will have a discussion moderated by our UNESCO colleagues that will try to take us a few of the first steps towards planning how we could organize ourselves here in Asia and the Pacific, and how we can make the most meaningful contribution to this global initiative, and something that really has value and meaning for us and for the mega cities that we represent around the region. So that's really what we hope to do with today's session. We're very, very happy to have all of you back with us, and look forward to an engaging and interactive couple of hours with you. With that, I will end these brief remarks. You heard a lot from me and from colleagues yesterday already, so hopefully that satisfies you for now. And I think we can move on to our first session. I'll hand back to my colleague Philippe, who will take us through the next points in our agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hans, for this introduction of the day. Can you hear me? Yes. Thank you for this introduction of the day. And yeah, today we want to hear from the participating megacities. As you can see in my background, for those who already visited, it's a picture taken in one of the megacities we'd like that it could participate in this alliance. This is Seoul in the Republic of Korea. I like very much this intervention they made in this city. This is the so-called stream. So a river crossing the mega city, which has been completely restored and given back to the population of the city. It's an incredibly quiet and natural place in such an urban environment. And I think it's a nice symbol of what we are trying to discuss. So what can be the interventions in mega cities to reintroduce water and also addressing climate change as a central part of planning and developing cities in the region. So I hope we will have very inspiring presentation by different cities. We will have 4 cities presenting this this afternoon, and we have put them simply in alphabetical order for the presentation. So it's my great pleasure now to call Mr. Judy Gardesi Asikin. He's Secretary of the DKI Jakarta Water Resource Department for his presentation on challenges and the situation of Jakarta. Mr. Judy Gardesi, the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me as a speaker in this forum. Good afternoon from Jakarta, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for inviting us in this event. I am Budi Gardesi Asikin as Department Secretary of Jakarta Provincial Government, Department of Water Resources Management. Today, I would like to share Jakarta Waters, the next stage. Presentation. Next, please. Something I can say about Jakarta. It's a mega city with more or less 10 million people during nighttime and supporting 20 million people in the greater Jakarta area. The capital city, a political and business hub of Indonesia. It's a very densely built metropolitan city. Geographically, Jakarta is located in low-lying area with part of northern Jakarta below sea level. It's also a delta city with 13 rivers flowing through the Jakarta from the outside to the Jakarta Bay. Currently, Jakarta is experiencing many impact of climate change. Next, please. I will quote this sentence from the previous convention of the International Conference Water, Megacities and Global Change in December 2015. Climate change is a water change, and water is a key resource for the sustainable development of megacities and a key factor of their resilience. This is how we also see in Jakarta, and thus making effort in achieving this resilience. Sorry about that. Next, please. Geographically, Jakarta is located in downstream area with elevation around 0 to 90 meters above sea levels. Flood control management and program is previously based on 3 segmentation of Jakarta, which is highland area. This area is to retain water as long as possible and recharge area. Second part is the middle area. This area is to regulate the flow water and reduce the peak flow during rain occurrence. And next is the lowland area. This functioning as a rapid water discharge area to the Jakarta Bay. I will see in the two picture in the right and the middle. This on December 31st December on 2019 until 1st January on 2020, flood occurred due to heavy rain. The number of inundation spotted 145 points, and number of community neighborhood is experiencing inundation more or less around 469 community neighborhood. This is the first event in the early January, and the following month also we occur a next flood, and some other also happened in early 2020. When we see the Jakarta flood design capacity, flood infrastructure design capacity is 2,357 meter cubic per second. But this is only 60 to 70% of its this design capacity. So this gap must be addressed. The decrease of in flood infrastructure is addressed by dredging and repair to the original design capacity. But the flood event in 1st January is we calculated almost 3,389 meter cubic per second. So we have a remaining discharge must be retained almost more than 1,000 meter cubic per second. Well, as we can see in the bottom graphic, this I will show you the moreover we can see the rainfall graph from 2010 and 2020. This will learn that the rainfall tend to increase in the last decade in the Jakarta city, which is caused more heavily inundation and flood event in Jakarta. Next, please. This is the picture in 2020 last year, and then the bottom is recently also in 2021. Next. So, Jakarta has been experiencing more frequent extreme weather events with high rain intensity in a short period. On the other hand, Jakarta is relying on outsourcing for its clean water. This including use of bottled water for drinking. And the polluted water bodies need immediate treated effort. So Jakarta has goal to manage the flood and achieving water security to its effort. This is I will show some gap analysis here. This clean water supply and wastewater treatment figures show the gap that Jakarta is also facing to achieve water security. Now, this is addressed in combination with flood management efforts, thus creating provincial water security within Jakarta using water from our reservoir or water bodies as additional to outside Jakarta water source. Next, please. For the next slide, I will show that our effort on how we manage the flood, also securing our water for the purpose of city amenities and use it. Many reservoirs in Jakarta are currently used for single function only. For example, as flood control or recreation. But now, Jakarta is diversing the function of its reservoir. For example, this is Situ Babakan in South Jakarta was previously only used as a recreational area and reservoir only. But currently, the function is more diverse, functioning as flood control to its downstream area, while also recharging groundwater. Water coming in from the surrounding housing area is treated before being discharged to the reservoir. Water treatment plant is being built this year to supply water to 4 nearby areas, which currently are still using groundwater. Situ Babakan is also an interconnecting system with other surrounding reservoir to manage the flow and reduce it to the downstream. Next, please. This is also the example of the in the western Jakarta, in the near the in the lowland area. This is the Mukofat dan Mogot Reservoir and water treatment plant at government-owned Pesakih apartment complex. Is an example of the need for clean water security in housing complex. It is used groundwater as a supply system, which would increase if it's using groundwater as a supply system, which would increase the risk of land subsidence. So a system was implemented to achieve this by building a reservoir that functions as a storage for rainwater and receiving treated wastewater from the apartment. The water in reservoir is then used in the water treatment plant built with additional water from Mokofat River. The clean water is then distributed back to the apartment. A project is also coming up there to create an underground modular tank as a storage and groundwater infiltration and runoff control for the purpose of Indonesian and flood also. Next, please. This is another example. Currently, Jakarta is moving toward multi-purpose functioning areas. An ongoing project is in Pondok Rangon Reservoir, which will function as a blue-green space with different purposes as flood control systems, groundwater recharge area, treating wastewater, and producing clean water for the surrounding area. At the same time, being used as a social culture hub for the different venues, providing ecotourism, educational program, and creating more green space to the area, thus achieving a more natural approach to water management. This will be duplicated to more on our site in the reservoir, or we call it the pond or riverside, and other water infrastructure for multi-purposes. Next. So that's all for today. We hope we can work more together with the other cities and share knowledge toward our common goal in creating more resilient cities in the face of climate change. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Gardesiasikin, for your very, very clear and interesting, inspiring, I would say, presentation. Your challenges are very clear: water security, resilience. At the same time, we could appreciate the kind of integrated approach your government is taking in the city, and this idea of multi-purpose functional areas, blue-green areas in the city around the reservoir in particular, using them for different functions, from flood control to recharge of groundwater, of course, all the recreational dimensions, social education. Thank you very much also for stressing this importance of education and participation of the communities and neighborhoods to the solution of the many challenges you are facing. That was really very inspiring. And I see also many possible connections, of course, within the framework or under the umbrella of the Alliance, with different initiatives and parts of our program like eco-hydrology for the management of city reservoir, for example, and of course, all the activities of the program related to urban water. So thank you very much. So second presentation will be about Manila in the Philippines, and I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Edward Padilla from the Department of Public Services in the metropolitan area of Manila. So Mr. Padilla, the floor is yours for your presentation. Thank you. Mr. Padilla, do we have the presenter? Here we are. Good afternoon, welcome.
Yes, sir. Good
Please.
afternoon.
Please go ahead. The presentation. We can see your presentation. Okay, now full screen.
All right.
Please. Thank you.
Okay, so I am from the Department of Public Services from the local government of different initiatives and activities in addressing solid waste management problem in the city, and as well as maintaining the cleanliness of our different waterways within the city also. So to start with, we have the environmental compliance status. So for material recovery facility or material recovery system, so out of 896 barangays, we have 646, and that is 72.10% all in all. And for the submission of barangay environmental compliance audit, out of 896 barangays, we have 635 compliant barangays, comprising to 70.87%. And for the waste segregation of the city, waste segregation at source, out of 896, we have 638 compliant, or we have 638 barangays that are practicing waste segregation, comprising to 71.21%. And for each barangay, we have established a barangay solid waste management committee. Previous slide, please. So for the barangay solid waste management committee, all 896 barangay are compliant, so 100%. Next slide, please. Next, please. Thank you. So we have the monthly Manila Bay Coastal Cleanup. So for the month of December 2020, we have collected along Baseco Beach 135 metric tons. And for January, we have 96 metric tons. And for February, we have 93 metric tons, totaling to 324 metric tons. And for Baywalk, Rojas Boulevard area, we have 280 metric tons collected volume of waste. And we also have for January 2021, we have 266 metric tons. And for February, we have 248 metric tons, garnering at 794 metric tons total also. Next, please. Next slide, please. So here are some pictures of our conduct of Manila Bay Coastal Cleanup. So for Baseco Beach, we have our workforce that is assigned to conduct daily cleanup along the Baseco Beach from Monday to Sunday. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. And then we also have our team who are assigned along Baywalk, Rojas Boulevard. So just like for the Baseco team, they are assigned also to conduct daily cleanup on Mondays to Sundays in a daily basis also. Next slide, please. So another team, we have also our steros, or I think in other countries they call steros creeks or small waterways, smaller than rivers. So we also have assigned team to address those waterways. So for December 2020, we have accumulated 338 sacks, equivalent to 10.14 metric tons. And for January 2021, we have 2,546 sacks, equivalent to 76.38 metric tons. And for February 2021, we have 1,295 sacks, equivalent to 38.85 metric tons. So total of number of sacks for that 3-month period, we have 3,874, amounting to 125.37 metric tons. That is for our Estero Rangers, or the team that is assigned for our creeks within the city of Manila. So here are some of the picture of our Estero Rangers. We call them Estero Rangers. So here are the photos during their cleanup, daily cleanup. Just the same with the first 2 teams that I have mentioned earlier. Our Estero Rangers is also conducting daily cleanup from Mondays to Sundays. Next slide, please. So after cleanup for the different creeks that we are conducting regular cleanups, we are turning over, or we are handing to the different barangays or the different communities a signed turnover forms, wherein it stated there that they must maintain the cleanliness of the waterways, or else their failure to do so will be a ground for them to be issued an show cause order coming from the Department of DILG, yes, Department of Interior and Local Government. The DILG is a national agency here in the Philippines. Next slide, please. Here is a sample of the turnover form. So we have the turnover form, and then we have the photos during the conduct of cleanup within that community attached to the turnover form to be signed by the to be received by the barangay chairman or any barangay official that is around during the serve of the turnover forms. Next slide, please. So aside from our initiatives of daily collection of garbage, because the mandate of our department, Department of Public Services, is mandated to for the solid waste management of the city. That is our mandate. So we are also conducting IEC campaign, or information education campaign in regards with our Republic Act 9003, or our Ecological Solid Waste Act. Under the new normal, IEC campaign is conducted by a Zoom meeting, then sending of IEC materials in email, and posting of IEC publications materials in Facebook page of the local government of Manila. Next slide, please. So here are the tally of our IEC campaign. For the month of December 2020, number of IEC conducted, we have 14. And for January 2021, we have 38. And for February 2021, we have 26. All in all, we have 78 IEC conducted. So number of barangay attended, we have 67 for December. We have 311 for January. And we have 149 for February. All in all, we have 527. So number of participants, all in all, within that accumulated 3 months of campaign, we have 718 participants who attended the IEC campaign. Next slide, please. So we also have our waste diversion initiatives. So as part of our campaign for plastic waste, we have partnered entered to a partnership with different private organizations and companies. So next slide, please. So we have the Collect Kilo Kita project para sa Walastik na Maynila, a total of 125.19 metric tons, or 125.190 kilograms of flexible plastics were diverted since October 2019 up to present. Next slide, please. Then yes, this is the mechanics of the project. So per 1 kilo of flexible plastic, in exchange, it is incentivized for 3 pesos each for 1 kilo of flexible plastics or single-use plastics. Next slide, please. And then we also have Alas Kalikasan Rapid Redemption Project. Also with this one, we instead of money, single-use plastic is exchanged for milk. So unlike for the earlier project that I have mentioned, this one, Alas Kalikasan, single-use plastic in exchange of fortified milk coming from Alaska. Next slide, please. And then we also have Aling Tendera, a waste to cash program. Here, single-use plastic is both for 2 pesos per kilo. And we have installed container vans within barangays or zones wherein it will serve as their MRFs or MRS or junk shops. So we are planning to install 100 container vans that will serve as MRF for every zone of the city. So the Department of Environment of Natural Resources also donated to the city a plastic factory sets. Plastic waste will be converted into plastic chairs. So this is donated by DNR, and it's being it's ongoing training for the city for us to utilize the factory. Next slide, please. And then we also have trained environmental police for the apprehension of the different violators of our environmental policies within the city. So with this, we have programs of deputation of environmental police and officers as a support for our different environmental ordinances being implemented within the city of Manila. And I just want to share that the city of Manila got the award as the most improved local government unit here in the country. Conducted last 2020 assessment of local government units compliance with Manila Bay Cleanup, Rehabilitation and Preservation, MBCRP program. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So those are the plaques and recognition. So I think that's all for my presentation, and thank you very much for listening. Good day.
Thank you very much, Dr. Padilla, and congratulations for your achievements, which have been awarded. Thank you very much for drawing our attention to management of solid waste, and of course to the importance of thinking about this strong connection between rivers, inland waters, and of course the coastal waters and the oceans. I'm not sure, I don't know if our colleague Benno Boer he's connected with us, but I'm sure he would have loved your presentation, as he's the promoter of the so-called plastic initiative in our UNESCO networks. And And definitely this is the kind of action we'd like to see from very local community to megacities. And so it's very nice that you could highlight the fact that also megacities have to address those challenges at a quite high level. And I like very much also the example you gave about compensating, so having the participation of the communities and every citizen in those efforts. And I like the fact that particularly these efforts to link cleaning the water, collecting waste, and having for rewarding those efforts, food like milk. Because money, furniture is something, but then when you really highlight the fact that a clean environment, clean waters in the rivers, in the oceans means food for humanity, for our population, means a healthy environment and a better future for all. So that's really, really, really inspiring. Thank you very much again for your presentation. I'd like now to go in another part of our region, New Delhi megacity. I would like to invite Mr. Sayed Ali Shavoshian, Director of the Regional Center on Urban Water Management. And sorry, mixed up. Sorry, I'm inviting Mr. Nikhil Kumar, CEO of Delhi Jal Board in New Delhi. Excuse me, Dr. Kumar, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. A very good morning to all the distinguished participants from New Delhi. And I'm very grateful to the organizers of the MAWAC First Regional Meeting and giving an opportunity for New Delhi to make this presentation. It is a matter of personal privilege for me to represent the city of New Delhi and the Delhi Jal Board, that is the premier water and sewerage utility for the capital city of Delhi. And since we are having under a severe a time control, so I'll straight away go to the presentation. Just one second. Yeah, is the presentation clear, I guess?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah,
okay. I can see it.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Yeah, so Delhi is also known by its official name, that's the National Capital Territory of Delhi, and is the political and cultural hub of India. It's one of the largest metropolises in the world, with a population of more than 20.6 million and an area of about 1,484 square kilometers. It is located on the banks of the river Yamuna, which is the largest tributary of the river Ganges, and a very used to be thriving, flourishing river not very long ago. But the pressures of urbanization and development have taken its toll on the river. Delhi has been continuously inhabited, at least for the last 2,500 years, from 6th century BC, and naturally has a city with long history and a very rich heritage. So I'll be speaking about Delhi from the perspective of the water and the sewerage utility, the water security aspects, and the challenges that we are facing, the opportunities that we have, and the steps that we can take to tide over the crisis that we are facing and to make ourselves water secure for the future. The present requirement, the population of Delhi is, like I said, 20.6 million, for which at the rate of 60 gallons per day, our requirement comes to 1,236 million gallons per day, MGD, whereas the present optimum production in Delhi is about 935 MGD. So as we can appreciate, there is a demand supply gap of almost 300 MGD presently. Delhi is a landlocked city and it's on the banks of the river, but the sources of raw water for Delhi are very, very limited. So we just have the river, and because the river, there are multiple riparian states which are part of the river Yamuna. So the allocations from the river are regulated by the very strict interstate memorandums and agreements. So there is only a finite amount of water that is available in the river and that we can take. The remaining source is the groundwater, which is already very stressed. So we have 9 water treatment plants, and we have the complete network of more than 15,000 kilometers. Presently, 93% of Delhi is covered with a piped water supply network, and the remaining areas are serviced with water tankers supply the potable water. This is just a distribution of the water treatment plants that we have. And as we can see, most of them are located very close to the river itself. And the remaining areas are serviced through the channels or through the groundwater. So this is just some images of our WTPs and the channels that we have, the regulators. I'll come straight to the challenges that the capital city is facing in terms of its water requirement. First and foremost, Delhi being the hub of economy, of administration, of governance, of business. So it acts as a magnet for the entire national capital region. And there is a huge in-migration of population, which places a demand, ever-increasing demand on the water and the sewerage services. Like I said, being a landlocked city, the allocations of raw water are restricted, and we have to depend on the neighboring states and the federal units for making good on our water requirement. Because of the demand supply gap, and necessarily you have to tap into the groundwater resources that you have. And as you can see, almost 60% of Delhi's area has already reached the overexploited levels, and only 9% is within the safe limit. So this is one area which is an area of concern for us. A major problem that Delhi has faced is the unplanned growth that Delhi witnessed. Delhi grew organically. Apart from the planned settlements, a lot of unauthorized colonies and clusters came up over the last many decades. And the settlement preceded the provisioning of the water and the sewerage infrastructure. So that created a challenge. And now in these unplanned areas, provisioning of services is very difficult because of the narrow lanes which we have, the haphazard building plans, layouts, etc. So it is a huge challenge for us to provide the services in these pockets. Presently, almost 5 million people stay in these unauthorized pockets, etc. And provisioning of services is a huge issue. We have a relatively high amount of non-revenue water for the utility. It's in the region of around 40%. Now, the international norms are about 10 to 15%. So basically, our problem of non-revenue water is more to do with the shortage or the lack of proper billing, rather than wastage per se. Our wastage is more or less in the norms which are there, but because there are large unauthorized pockets, these unplanned areas where proper metering and billing is an issue, and this is an area which we have to tackle. Also because majority areas are already developed. So introduction of dual piping systems and use of the treated wastewater for all the non-potable activities, etc., is very, very cost intensive. So that is one area. High rises are coming up in lots of areas, including the unplanned areas, which creates a pressure on this water and the sewerage side. Now, the population, this is the projection as per the master plan document. Today, we are at 20.6 million. In the next, by the year 2031, it will be 24.8. And by 2041, it will be 30 million, which will place a demand of more than 1,500 million gallons for the city of Delhi. And we need to make sure that we are water ready for the growing population in the areas, and for which there are plans in place and the opportunities which are available. Now we'll come straight to the opportunities. Now the master plan of Delhi is under preparation for the year 2041. So we have a system of master planning for the entire national capital with a 20-year, 2 decades perspective. So we're very lucky that the preparation for the master plan 2041 is presently underway. And this is the right moment where we can introduce the necessary policy interventions for the plan development and to make sure that the water and sewerage occupy a key space in the national planning, in the planning for the city of Delhi. Similarly, Delhi is also part of the national capital region, for which we have a NCR planning board, which is also making a plan for the entire region for 2041. So based on the present issues that we are facing and the constraints that we have and the challenges that we have, it is an opportunity to introduce decentralized growth within the entire NCR region and to resolve all the interstate matters through mutual cooperation. Water balancing plan for the entire NCR as one unit is a very key component of meeting our water security requirements for the future. Use of new media, it's a very important tool, the social media and other medias, to increase the IEC about water security, about water conservation, about rainwater harvesting and water scarcity issues, so that public is adequately made aware of these challenges. Apart from this, we have right now greater networking and experience sharing across cities and across utilities, not only within the country, but outside the country. And this meeting itself is a forum where we can discuss and deliberate on these issues. So the best practices can be shared, technological innovations can be shared, we can learn from each other's experiences, and we can improve the operations and the functioning of the utility to an optimum level. Then, of course, new technologies are now available. Benchmarking and key performance indicators is an area that we have to introduce, and plus the use of SCADA and the IoT devices for real-time monitoring for optimum efficiencies in the distribution, etc. These are the opportunities. Similarly, to augment the raw water resources for Delhi, we are in touch with the neighboring federal units to exchange raw water for potable purpose with the treated wastewater for agricultural and non-potable use. So this is one area where we are working. Plus, the control over non-revenue water is a key component of the opportunities that will come. And also the involvement of the public sector through the PPP, the public-private partnership projects for better maintenance, better operation, better distribution of the utility, water and sewerage services in some areas. That's a very key part of the opportunities available. Now, as far as the solutions go, one of the most important aspects is to rationalize the potable water demand for the future development. Right till now, we have been projecting our requirement on the basis of 60 gallons per capita per day. However, with mandatory introduction of dual piping and mandatory use of treated wastewater for all non-potable activities, we hope to reduce this requirement from 40 GPCD to 60 gallons per capita per day over a period of 10 to 15 years. And that will bring down and optimize our overall water availability and water requirement for the city of Delhi. Dual piping infrastructure will be made mandatory for all the new plant developments that are coming up in the city of Delhi. Like I said, retrofitting in the existing development is a challenge and very cost intensive. So we'll focus on the new developments and we'll try and rationalize, try and optimize the distribution networks in the existing areas so that the water is used in the most judicious manner. A multimodal IEC campaign is a very key part of the overall strategy of rationalization. Water efficient fixtures need to be promoted, and a massive thrust on water saving, judicious usage, and wastage avoidance is required. The second component of the solution is the groundwater recharge. So apart from the normal rooftop rainwater harvesting, we also have this program of rejuvenation of our existing water bodies. We are creating artificial lakes in many parts of Delhi, and we'll use the treated wastewater for creating the water body, for recharging the aquifers. And then we also have a plan to extract through borewells at suitable locations, which can augment the potable water requirement in the city. Raw water augmentation strategy said is contingent on the interstate collaboration for exchange of wastewater for supply of non-revenue part of our strategy for the future. And similarly, the maximization of treated wastewater for reuse in the city is very, very critical for Delhi's water security. Now, we have taken many steps for rainwater harvesting initiatives. There is a specialized rainwater harvesting cell. We have set up rain centers in all the districts in Delhi to facilitate and guide the citizens and the building owners for rainwater harvesting. We have a regime where we give rebates and incentivize the rainwater harvesting structures. 10% rebate is given on the water bills. And similarly, there is a penal provision also, penalties imposed on their water bills. These are some of the images of rainwater harvesting that we have taken up in different parts. Now, Delhi of various states where some are dry, some are wet, some have been imposed upon, and there are issues there. And there is a concerted campaign to rejuvenate all these existing water bodies. So on one hand, they not only help in, on the other hand, also creates public spaces, recreational areas where the public can use and they can enjoy the natural ambience also. So towards this end, there are lots of initiatives which have been taken. These are some of the images of the actions that we have taken on the water bodies front. So the basic problem was the discharge of untreated sewerage water into these water bodies. So we have a system where we are wetland use of plants and use of sedimentations and use of chemicals to treat the water so that the treated the water body is made alive. And these are some of the activities constructed wetland. Now, this is a new initiative that we embarked on in the last year or so, whereby we are creating artificial lakes, large artificial lakes, using treated water, and apart from the recharge, they also help in this been created in short happens of increasing the groundwater extraction, which will be commensurate with the artificial recharge that will be doing across the city. Then first water, we have plans of exchange of treated wastewater with the raw water and other measures whereby collaboration in the entire region can be ensured so that we are able to augment our resources. As part of the long-term plan for the city of Delhi and for the entire area, we have large upstream storage dams which are being constructed, and they have a 12-year horizon. So as and when for the city. Remaining areas with tight water supply, we have a plan of constructing and we're already underway with new underground reservoirs and booster pump, old levels rising, etc. Having expertise in the private sector. We are now introducing in different areas where in PPP mode we have this distribution and water auditing being done so as to ensure that available of Delhi is done right down to the last drop. And we are, so that is an area where we have installation is a very important part of the entire water auditing. And we already have installations completed on the primary and the secondary system, and plans are also afoot to take it to the tertiary level. And there is a centralized data center where real-time data monitoring of the flows, etc., is done, which is very important for us to the non-water, non-revenue water area. So this is just some images of the installation of flow water, of flow meters. Now, use of treated wastewater in the most optimum manner is very important for a city like Delhi, which is landlocked and which is stressed on the waterfront. So presently, we are using about 357 MGD of the about 700 odd MGD that we receive, that we treat through our solid waste, STPs and wastewater treatment plants. We have plans for utilizing more, almost 800 MGD. That will be every bit of the treated effluent that we receive from the WWTPs and the STPs. We plan to use them for non-potable purposes. And we also have a very ambitious plan of using a part of that to with proper dilution and treatment, which can be further taken up from the river downstream and taken up as potable water. So that's a challenging area for us, but we already have a consultant appointed and we are waiting for the final report. Now, just a brief about the sewage treatment plants or the wastewater treatment plants. Presently, there is, we have an installed capacity of about 577 MGD, whereas the required sewerage capacity is 744. So there is a shortfall of about 167 MGD, for which we have different capacities of STPs in the pipeline, and I'll just discuss about them. 79% of Delhi is presently covered with a sewerage network, and The silver lining in this regard is that our capacity utilization of the STPs is more than 90%, which is a very healthy operating efficiency for the wastewater treatment plants. And we hope to further improve it through use of better technologies and monitoring of the this is the map of Delhi and which shows the coverage of the sewered areas. As you can see, the entire green part is the area which is presently sewered, completely sewered and completely under the sewerage network. And the remaining red and the yellow are where projects are in pipeline, and we are extending the network to these areas. These are some of the unique challenges, like I've already mentioned, is that the unplanned development which took place and that preceded the provisioning of the water and the sewerage site. So that is creating a problem where the untreated sewerage and the wastewater is flowing into the drains, which ultimately reaches the river Yamuna. Plus, there are certain drains which flow into Delhi, which carry wastewater from the neighboring petrol units also. So they contribute to the pollution load in the drainage system of Delhi, and ultimately they reach the river and cause pollution. Another problem is the high population density of Delhi and the high land cost, due to which most of these projects for the WTPs and the STPs, as you know, are they are very heavy on the land requirement. So provisioning of land and plus the costing for that is an issue. Plus the multiplicity of authorities and agencies with respect to land management is also an area where there are multiple statutory compliances, etc., which need to be undertaken before the project reaches the culmination. These are some of the strategies that we have in place and we are using for the efficient sewerage management in the city. One is our plans to cover the entire city with 100% sewerage network, and we augment the overall treatment capacity, and that is primarily through the installation of decentralized STPs across areas. So if we are not able to procure large chunks of land for large STPs, then we introduce these smaller decentralized treatment plants in the new settlements so that the pressure on the land requirement is reduced. The existing STPs also are of different vintages. So there is a very urgent requirement of upgrading the existing treatment plants and bringing them to the present prevailing norms. All the drains need to be trapped before they reach the river. And for that, we have an interceptor sewer project, which is a large project where we are trapping more than 100 drains and taking the discharge to the plants for treatment. And lastly, major drains which cannot be trapped, we have plans to install STPs at the mouth of these drains so that we can prevent this from going into the river. As I've already explained, these are all cost-intensive projects. And this is just an indication of the kind of investment that will be required for creation of the physical infrastructure, both in the water and the sewerage side, as also the operation and the maintenance that will happen after these plants are in place. But I'm sure that with the cooperation of the experts across various cities and learning from experiences from each other, we would be able to find creative solutions, innovative solutions to meet not just the increasing requirement of water, but also to operate and functionalize all our existing systems in the most optimum and efficient manner. So that's all that I have to say. And I'm again very thankful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity and allowing New Delhi to be a part of these deliberations. We hope that we can take it forward and we contribute and learn at the same time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We thank you for your presentation, Dr. Nikhil Kumar. And I should say, it was not only inspiring, but very comprehensive presentation. And first of all, highlighting twice the importance of having exchanges, of being open to learning from others and sharing your experience. It's exactly what the MAWAC is about. And we are very pleased to see your commitment to play with us that kind of role and supporting exchanges. And we definitely have to learn from each other many things. And I have learned so many things from your presentation, and would be very difficult to summarize it. But what should I say? You have showed very clearly the importance of addressing every issue, every challenge, every problem you have at the proper level. And that's again a very, very interesting illustration of what MAWAC is about and why we are so much insisting about having different kinds of stakeholders around the table. Of course, governors, mayors, the policymakers, river basin authorities, but at the same time, the service suppliers, research and monitoring institution, all the players around the table, because as you have clearly showed, the challenges are so many and closely articulated and interconnected. So we need all these players around the table. But probably what you have showed very clearly also is the importance of addressing these challenges at the proper scale. I like very much your vision of seeing Delhi inside even a bigger area, which is not just a river basin, but then a regional entity to address for sure those problems of migration, urbanization, growth of population. So we need to act at the proper level when we have to address those issues, which are also social, macroeconomics, not just technical or hydrological or hydraulic from an hydraulic engineering perspective. So that's so important. And thank you very much. That was really, really inspiring.
Thank you.
So we will move. And we definitely would need more exchanges and more presentation of that kind. We have 4 cities represented this afternoon, but definitely I'm very excited about hearing more about many of the cities and playing my modest role in supporting those exchanges, because they really bring the solutions on the table, as you have shown. Last but not least, we will hear about Tehran now, and I apologize again for having mixed up the names before your presentation, Dr. Kumar. I'm inviting now Mr. Sayed Ali Shavoshan, who is the director of the Regional Center on Urban Water Management and a representative of the Tehran city. So if the presentation is ready, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Philip. This is Ali. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, welcome. The floor is yours.
All right. Thank you very much. Let me share the screen with you and start my presentation immediately. Can you see my slide?
Not yet. Yes.
Yes. It works now.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. My name is Ali Shavoshan, and I would like to first of all thanks organizer of this event and say hello to my colleagues all over the world, from Paris to Jakarta. And I also would like to mention that I just delivered this presentation on behalf of Tehran Megacity. My colleagues from Tehran Municipality, Dr. Ansari, Mr. Ahmari, as well as other colleagues from Ministry of Energy and National Water and Wastewater Engineering Company, Mr. Kashfi, Dr. Haji Abadi, and also my colleagues in Regional Center on Urban Water Management, which is a UNESCO Category 2 center, Ms. Sadeghi, Dr. Dekhani, and Mr. Salamat. So many people contributed to develop this presentation, so I will deliver for you. I will try to touch upon both opportunities and challenges in my 15 slides presentation. First of all, let's have a look at location of Tehran. Tehran is located somehow in the northern part of Iran, close to Caspian Sea. It is a city with a bit more than 700 square kilometers area. And as you could see in this slide, the city is very much dependent on mountainous area in the north for water resources. And we could somehow subdivide the city to 4 different sub-basins. Mountainous basin, which somehow surrounded the city like an arc. And then we have west, central, and eastern part of Tehran. I will come back again to this slide later, because I would like to talk about Tehran urban rivers. However, in this slide, as you could see, in the northern part of Tehran, which is mountainous basin, we have rather high precipitation. But in the southern part of Tehran, which is somehow connected to the desert, we have less amount of precipitation. Tehran is a 4-season city. So we have all 4 seasons in Tehran. And now it is June, and we are expecting an average temperature of nearly 35 Celsius degree. In winter, it could be below 0, and we have some snow actually, especially in the northern part of Tehran, and rather hot summer. Tehran is located in arid and semi-arid areas. So one of our main challenges in Tehran is water scarcity, lack of water. I enjoyed some presentation from Manila, from Jakarta, from New Delhi with lots of precipitation. However, in Tehran, we have only 230 millimeters annual average precipitation, which is somehow varies in the Dizine ski resort. In northern part of Tehran, it could be somehow 680 millimeters, nearly to 700 millimeters. And in the southern part of Tehran, Imam Khomeini Airport, International Airport, we have less than 200 millimeters annual average rainfall. In this slide, I would like to summarize for you major water resources of Tehran and also how we can deliver drinking water to Tehran citizens. We somehow depend on both surface water and groundwater for Tehran drinking water, Tehran water supply. 5 major dams, 2 of them in the west, 3 of them in the east of Tehran, somehow contributed to 50% of the water supply of Tehran. And we divided Tehran city to 6 different zones in order to better management of the drinking water and service the network. Regarding to the water quality, I can tell that Tehran is enjoying a very good water quality. More than 53 actually special laboratories are checking water quality of Tehran continuously 24/7, and I would like to somehow emphasize on these issues, especially with respect to ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. Here you could see some actually facts and figures regarding to Tehran water supply. I would like to start from the right-hand side of the slide. Annual water supply of Tehran is a bit more than 1,100 million cubic meter. And as you could see, water consumption per capita is more than 230 liters per day. It is rather high. This is another challenge actually in Tehran. As I mentioned, in Tehran, we are dealing with water scarcity. Our climate is arid and semi-arid. And having 233 liter per capita daily water consumption is high for such an arid climate. Fortunately, water coverage in Tehran megacity is 100%, and we have 15,540 kilometers of water supply network. Regarding to the wastewater, I would like to inform you nearly 400 MCM is the volume of collected wastewater, and we could manage to treat almost a bit more than half, nearly 65% of it actually. So what wastewater coverage is nearly 65%, 2/3 of collected wastewater, and the network is somehow more than 7,300 kilometers all over Tehran. And if I want to just in one slide show to you the capacity of providing water supply for drinking, it is 32.2 cubic meter per second, could be translated to more than 2,782,000 cubic meter per day. And for wastewater treatment, the capacity, installed capacity in Tehran is 8.5 cubic meter per second. Here you could see some information of Tehran rivers. We have somehow 7 river systems from west of Tehran to east. And here I summarized some general information, basic information of those rivers, including the land basin area, how much is in mountainous basin, how much is in urban area. And as you could see, Tehran is located in rather high elevation. In the southern part of Tehran, the elevation of Tehran is somehow 1,100, 1,200 meters in the southern part, and in the northern part, it can go on, even more than 2,000 meters the elevation of the Tehran city. But rivers are somehow originated even in higher elevation in deep mountainous area. As I mentioned, I would like to come back again to this slide. Now, this time, I would like to talk about Tehran rivers. If you look at this, the middle figures, you could see some blue lines and some red lines. In the past, I mean, something like 50, 60 years ago, in order to somehow develop Tehran, unfortunately, some of the rivers has been dried up using man-made channel. We call one of them West Flood Bypass and the other one East flood bypass. This man-made channel has been constructed at that time in order to somehow divert flood from rivers already running inside of the Tehran to outside of the Tehran, and to provide somehow land for urban development. And that was actually somehow, we could say that against well-being of Tehran citizens nowadays. And that's why one of major projects that we started now in Tehran, I mean, almost, I can tell, around 10 years since we started Tehran urban river restoration. We wanted to bring back rivers to Tehran, and in order to citizens of Tehran enjoy sources of water. I can see in the background of Philip, similar example in Seoul, South Korea, Jongchang River restoration. So this is somehow similar activities in Tehran, but we are in the arid and semi-arid climate. We have much more challenges in order to do urban river restoration, especially those rivers. Some of them are seasonal rivers, and we have to somehow be careful about water quantity as well as water quality. In this slide, you could see some already completed project, and some of them are ongoing projects of Tehran river restoration. And I'm happy to inform you, due to Tehran municipality's activities for Tehran urban river restoration, Tehran won Excellent Merit Award from International Society of City and Regional Planners, ISOCARP, in 2017. So we are proud of our achievement, and we would like to keep continue for river restoration. As for river restoration, as I mentioned, we are living in kind of arid and semi-arid areas. However, at the same time, we have time to time flash floods. Tehran is located in, as you have seen, in somehow downstream of the mountainous area, and that mountainous area and steep slope could somehow cause flash floods. So one of the objectives of river restoration in Tehran was and is increasing safety and amenity of the river. But natural features is also important for us, and we would like to have somehow beauty of the water in our city. And moreover, water quality is somehow important issues when we are talking about river restoration and access to water. And citizens of Tehran can see again rivers in their city as have seen by the parents or maybe grandparents, as a matter of fact. And finally, of course, environment, flora and fauna, fishes, wildlife are also important for Tehran river restoration. At the same time, we have to consider quite a few factors. You know, Tehran is Iran is a developing country, and maybe financially somehow sustainable projects are very important. That's why we are looking for cost-effective methodology and approaches for Tehran urban river restoration. And it should be, of course, ecologically sustainable, should be beautiful scenery, and should be somehow considered in mind operation and maintenance. These kind of urban river restoration projects are not like, for instance, dam constructions or, you know, some other actual infrastructures that you build them, and maybe over the time, really a few cases you need to do operation and maintenance. River restoration, urban river restoration is a continuous day-to-day operation and maintenance. That's why this is somehow highlighted in our activities. In this slide, I would like to talk a little bit about flood. As I mentioned, we are facing several flash floods, but not only flash flood, time to time the stormwater, as well as urban flood is causing some problem in Tehran. The photo you could see is Tehran subway back in 8 years ago. And unfortunately, one of the subway lines of Tehran has been somehow submerged due to stormwater and kind of rather high precipitation. So we have done several actions in order to manage flood in Tehran. Now the main stormwater drainage channel length is over 500 kilometers. Some sediment retention in over 20 sites. Flood detention volume in Tehran is more than 700,000 cubic meters. And if we just talk only about Tehran downtown area, Tehran city area, the kind of surface water network is somehow 170 kilometers. Now I would like to move to the organizational structures and who is who when we are talking about water management in Tehran mega city. Actually, I somehow mentioned here 3 key players. First of all, and maybe somehow most important in terms of water management is Ministry of Energy, which used to be called Ministry of Water and Power. Later, it has been changed name to Ministry of Energy. Ministry of Energy is in charge of overall water resources management, and it's control A to Z of water in Iran, from the origin, from the rivers to the tap water that citizens are using in their home or farmers in their actually agricultural land and so on. So Ministry of Energy is one of the key players. Tehran municipality, of course, they are in charge of urban planning, and when they are doing urban planning, they have to consider actually water situation of the Tehran, like concept of blue-green plan and so on, sustainable environment management, public green spaces, as well as urban stormwater management. Especially urban stormwater management is solo somehow responsibility of Tehran municipality. Of course, other organizations will support Tehran municipality in this regard. And finally, of course, I have to mention about Ministry of Interior, which is in charge of disaster management in general, including flood and crisis management situation. Of course, we have more organizations involved in Tehran megacity water and environment and climate change. For instance, Department of Environment of Iran, or let's say Ministry of Industry of Iran. However, I just try to mention here 3 most important players in the field of water and climate of Tehran. And here, this is not a challenge. And I will show you in the next slide kind of cooperation among these entities. However, we have to note this kind of interagency cooperation and collaboration could be source for some of actually challenges, and we have to be very careful of this multi-agencies role in Tehran megacity water and climate management. This is one of the examples, as I mentioned to you, cooperation examples. I think in 2007 or 2008, actually, more than, let's say, around 13, 14 years ago, we reached an agreement between Tehran City Council, Ministry of Energy, and Tehran Municipality, a trilateral agreement for urban flood management. And you could see this kind of agreement and organizing a kind of task force committee. And those task force, each of them, one of them, for instance, by Ministry of Energy, another one by Tehran Municipality, but by membership of the Ministry of Energy. They are dealing with Tehran urban flood management. Another example, which just happened last year, it was related to reuse, Tehran wastewater recycle and water reuse. And, because Tehran Municipality needs lots of water, especially groundwater, for Tehran green spaces. They came and discussed and negotiated with Ministry of Energy in order to do water reuse project in Tehran and utilize that reuse water and recycle wastewater for green spaces in order to reduce the amount of the groundwater water use by 60% in next 10 years. And then it could actually somehow 20 times and somehow increase the forestation, especially in the surrounding area of Tehran. By this, I would like to finish my presentation and thank you, all of you, for listening to me.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Ali Shabasyan. A very well illustrated, very interesting and inspiring presentation. First of all, you reminded us that megacities are so big, could be obvious, but then it was nice to highlight and illustrate. Megacities are so large that they can incorporate very diversified environments and geographical conditions with different water rainfall patterns and of course, I guess different kind of management requirements, and that's that could be obvious, but it should not be, and that's a very interesting case. Moving from mountains to deserts. I mean, it allows to work on many dimensions of water management and city development. I was particularly impressed by what you said, that for the moment, water supply is guaranteed to 100% of the population, which is, I think, a fantastic achievement. And probably this was definitely, together with flood control, a high priority in governing the development of the city. And having achieved that, so somehow you can move on with other objectives like restoration, river restoration, and the last illustration you made about these green, blue areas and spaces for the city, for its population, for the citizens. And you have said very properly the importance of this project, of course, from a multi-purpose functional kind of aspect, but also I will say it with my words, to reconnect people, reconnect the population, the citizens, to the importance of water. I think when these areas can also be used for recreational purposes and for that kind of purpose. So we cherish a resource, and we see it present in very high quality areas in the city. And this, I think, helps laying a ground for higher attention to water management issues at all levels. I think from the politicians, and it was nice to hear about this cooperation among different ministries and the city government, but at the same time among service supplier, among citizens, which is, I think, very, very important. Also in the perspective for us in the intergovernmental hydrological program to work more on education. It's not just something you bring in schools, in university, but you have to really spread across the entire society. And I think those realizations are very, very effective tools to achieve that. So thank you very much for stressing those aspects, which are very complementary to what we've heard from other presenters. With this, we will conclude our first part of this today's session. I'd like, of course, to thank all presenters for really excellent presentation, very well illustrated and highly diversified. So they just are a kind of visit card or a kind of invitation for us to strengthen our cooperation and our exchanges under the framework of what we are proposing now, the Megacities Alliance on climate, water and climate. And I could not close this session without thanking very much our colleagues from the Jakarta office who assured so far a very efficient and smooth technical support to our discussions and our meeting. So thank you all. With this, I will hand over now the moderation of our session to my dear colleague Alexandros from the IHP Secretariat in Paris. As we were reminded yesterday, he's definitely the mastermind inside UNESCO of this initiative with our partners, of various partners, and of course now involving all field offices of UNESCO in the region and in the world. So I'd like to pass the floor to him because like he could lead now our discussion. As you know from the agenda, the last part of our very fruitful meeting so far is to look at our way towards the next conference, beginning of next year, and the formal establishment of the alliance with different steps we need to take together. And with a great chance you all have in participating in this discussion and other that will follow this meeting, a great chance you have to really be the owners of the process and express your need, your interest, your suggestions on how we could structure that regionally, how we could work together, how we will approach this conference and make it very fruitful and successful in launching the alliance globally and also in our fantastic region. With this, I will close. Alexandros, the floor is yours now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Philippe. Thank you very much for moderating the very first part, which was extremely interesting. At least to me, very educational. Also, I would like to thank all the 4 presenters and the other people that we have around that maybe have not presented, but they have been observing the megacities who took the floor. As I said before, I would like to thank you very much for this because I think it's evident what we heard today, you know, how they relate to the need for setting up a platform, a cooperation platform for mega cities to exchange more on this, to learn from each other. I mean, from technical issues, we saw solutions, let's say, and how different megacities go about it, to getting the participation of citizens, of media, of other stakeholders in providing the solutions to not only structural solutions, but also issues of governance. I mean, we heard from the director of our center in Tehran, Dr. Ali Savusyan, how, you know, they had to approach the different governmental agencies, entities who are involved in the management of water. And when we say management of water, even including floods, right? In order to find a solution, a sustainable solution that would work. But we saw also from Philippines that it's not only an issue of water, right? Waste, solid waste comes in the way too, and it's another area that we will need to address sooner or later. The same thing came also from New Delhi. We saw that they were worrying also about the solid waste in their city. But I love the fact that we are seeing more and more signs of moving towards integrated urban water management. We saw that we now collect and reuse wastewater, which I think we need to start changing also the name. I mean, wastewater is not a waste, right? It's water to be reused. So we see that more and more we have more of groundwater recharge projects, managed aquifer recharge, basically using treated wastewater in order to catch up with the big demand that we have. And we saw the need also for moving towards smart water management systems, reducing non-revenue water, and see how technology can help us minimize losses and optimize every bit of the funds that we have to provide water to people. So before I start, I wanted to ask the audience if they had any questions or comments for the presentations that they heard. Maybe we have someone who would like to ask another Megacity question about how they went about things. Even from our observers, please feel free to raise your hand and ask any question or make any comment that you might have. And if not, then I will ask my colleagues to upload the next presentation that will help us go through the next steps. I want to clarify to you that this is our first meeting. It's a meeting that we're trying to put together the different megacities to explore this opportunity about the alliance, right? There's no a restriction as to how you can participate in this alliance, right? And the issue is, do you think that this is something that it's needed? We feel that this is something that you can definitely benefit from. We saw that New Delhi is actually understanding the knowledge exchange process and is already participating in a similar mechanism. And we think that the broader this mechanism is, the more solutions and knowledge can be transferred among megacities, from the ones who have some experience to the ones that they need similar experience, because the needs are the same. I mean, global changes have introduced new pressures to our systems, whether this is rapid urban population growth, whether these are the climate change effects and our past mistakes, as Dr. Ali was discussing about redirecting rivers with man-made channels and what this would mean afterwards for flash flooding events, since you no longer have natural paths to release the pressure of the water coming in, etc. So I will just want to see for one more minute if we have any hands raised. I don't see anyone. So if not, then may we have the slides that will guide us to the next session, which is planning the next steps. Just to let you all know that through your permanent delegations, your Ministry of Foreign Affairs, UNESCO tried to approach you to identify experts for this meeting today and for our cooperation in general, right? And within this exchange, this official exchange, we had a letter that identified 4 issues. One is the regional meetings that we're having ours today, and then how would we want as a region to have a presence in the January meeting in Paris at the 2nd International Conference on Water Megacities and Global Change. Right. The second aspect that the official invitation was calling upon was to receive your views on the strategic global framework. The strategic global framework, as you might have heard if you attended our first day yesterday, is practically the terms of reference on how these cooperation platforms should operate. And it was created by a group of experts nominated by our Intergovernmental Hydrological Program. But it's not cast in stone, right? It's a proposal to all of you to go through it, to let us know if this makes sense to you, if not, what you think needs to be changed, so that we eventually edit it and we provide it to the mayors or the governors who will come to Paris in January 2022 to sign it and launch the cooperation platform. The other item that we were discussing is, of course, the participation on today's meeting, but also the way forward, setting up a regional cooperation. The idea is that MAWAC, the Megacities Alliance for Water and Climate, will operate based on regional chapters that will meet periodically based on your decision at a global level. So we wanted to discuss a little bit more about the way forward on setting up the regional cooperation framework. And last but not least, we heard a lot of information, technical information from Megacities today. We're trying to provide a snapshot of the water situation in megacities with the publication of water monographies. We had water monographies being published after the first international conference on water megacities and global change back in 2015, but we realized that they were a little bit heterogeneous on their approach. So we have prepared a template that will allow also for comparative analysis and to identify common challenges or solutions that could work from one place to the other. So we would like to discuss a little bit the publication, the preparation rather, and publication of such water monographies with you. Next slide, please. So before we start with all the items, let's tackle the first one, which has to do with the regional session and Mayors Congress at the conference in January. So if you see, we have a provisional agenda of the conference. I'm sorry, I'm going to turn to my larger screen, so I'm not going to be looking straight to you. The conference will start on the 11th of January with a high-level panel, right? That we will have the opening ceremony. And then we have a number of parallel sessions. These parallel sessions are based on scientific papers that we have received, which have been organized based on the different themes suggested for the conference. But as you can see on day 2, we have regional sessions. These are sessions that we had reserved for an issue that each region will want to address. For example, or you might want to address as a region and discuss during the January meeting the issue of flooding, urban flooding, I'm just saying, or urban river restoration. We saw how both in Manila and in New Delhi and Jakarta and also in Tehran, the restoration of urban rivers has been becoming more and more important, and more resources are going in as we see opportunities for a multi-purpose river now, not just what it used to be. So it could be something like that. You decide what you would like to tackle in your regional session, and this will be part of the conference, as you will see in the program. The third day will have some more parallel sessions and roundtables. In the afternoon of the third day, we will have the technical visits to a number of sites with partner institutions that would like to showcase their facilities to you. And the last day, we will close with another round of roundtables and the closing ceremony. And this will be the closing of the scientific conference, and then we will have the political component, which will be on Friday afternoon, and it's going to be the General Assembly of the Megacities Alliance for Water and Climate, and basically we will have mayors and governors taking the floor, discussing a little bit about their challenges and their vision, and then launching officially the alliance, right? So we expect that within the conference, we will have the official establishment of the alliance, right, through the Mayor's Congress. And we will have on that day the signature of the mayors and the governors on the strategic global framework. We will have also a youth declaration. We have a very active youth group that has been supporting the organization of the conference. And we will have the publication of the 15 best papers to the open access International Scientific Journal Water. We're having a discussion with them to publish the 15 best papers. And the rest of the papers will be published in any case through UNESCO's electronic publications as a proceedings of this conference. So we're expecting more than 800 people to come in from more than 100 countries. We have already 20 partners. We're talking about 19 parallel sessions, 115 scientific papers to be presented, 4 plenaries, 5 roundtables, and 4 regional sessions. This summarizes a little bit of what will happen in January. So can we go to the next slide? Oops, I'm sorry. I see that we have one of our colleagues who raised their hand. I'm sorry. Sina Ansari. Would you like to take the floor?
Hi.
Hi. We can hear you.
Can I speak?
Yes, please do.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Shina Ansari. I'm General Director of Environment and Sustainable Development at Municipality of Tehran. I'm so pleased to participate in this important meeting. It's a valuable opportunity for the city of Tehran, which is currently facing various environmental problems, including water pollution, water consumption management, providing sustainable water resources for urban green spaces, and various aspects of climate change. As Mr. Chavoshian said, Tehran is located in the center of a metropolitan region with an area of 700 square kilometers and is struggling with several environmental problems. So we will be glad to exchange experiences and cooperation with megacities around the world, especially Asia region, and apply the successful experiences of other cities in water management, water scarcity adaptation, and other aspects of urban management, such as air pollution control, waste management, renewable energy development, and development of environmental educational activities according to the capacity of the people, or capacity building in the neighborhoods of Tehran. I would like to thank UNESCO for leading this valuable meeting, and especially Ms. Mehtadi for joining us to this regional meeting. I hope that this presence will be a good start for more effective steps between Tehran municipality and other metropolitan municipalities towards reduction of urban environmental challenges? Thanks.
Thank you very, very much. We really hope that this will be the very beginning of such a cooperation. And thank you very much for expressing the desire of Tehran to be part of such a network. Rest assured that at least from our end, we will do the utmost to get there, to get to creating this cooperation platform and having megacities benefiting from the knowledge of other megacities who have worked on similar problems. So this way, basically avoiding the wastage of time, resources, and just learn from each other. I mean, this is also the raison d'etre of UNESCO, right? Is to ensure and enhance international cooperation for common challenges, developmental challenges. Thank you very much, Ms. Hamdani, for your intervention. Do we have anyone else who would like to take the floor? I don't see any other hands. Okay. Again, once more, thank you very much for the vote of confidence about the need of such a platform. I will ask my colleagues to move to the presentation again. So we had a first idea of what will happen in January in the meeting in Paris. Do we have any questions? Please feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions related to each item that we will be tackling throughout the presentation. So we would stop and address it. Do we have any questions related to the meeting in January? So this will be the global meeting, and it will be combined basically with the scientific conference. We want to kill two birds with one stone and have scientists speak, but also decision makers speak, and then create the science policy interface that we all know that it's extremely important for scientists to listen to the problems from decision makers so that they can understand how they can better move their scientific knowledge and research, and also from decision makers to know what is available and what can be done. Okay, I don't see any hands for this slide, so can I ask my colleagues to move to the next slide? So we spoke about what will happen to the January meeting. Let's talk briefly about the MAWAC Strategic Global Framework. As I said before, the Strategic Global Framework is practically the terms of reference of the Alliance, and it was created by a working group of experts of IHP. It provides a vision and a mission for the Alliance, and then it gives specific objectives. So practically, we want to facilitate experience sharing on strategies and action plans, on research and studies of common interest, of academics and practitioners who want to strengthen the governance of water resource management. And we want to, first of all, learn about how each and every one of you is tackling the issue of water resource management in your mega city, so that we do an analysis and then we can help each other. We want to build a knowledge base on water and climate issues, and of course, identify means and mechanisms for funding. So to do this, we're proposing at least to use a multi-stakeholder model, which is relatively controlled though. It's not too open, but it's open enough, right? So we're looking at 4 pillars, right? Water and sanitation management for human well-being, climate change and water-related hazards, ecosystem services, and social and economic development. We're trying to focus on 4 key stakeholders. One is the decision makers, and the decision makers will be also the a focal point for the exercise, in the sense that we need a decision maker who will, first of all, identify who are the rest of the representatives for this alliance. So we need someone from utilities and operators, water treatment, wastewater treatment utilities, someone who has a good idea of what is happening. Then we want the academics, the researchers, to be part also of this effort, because there is a lot of work that's done at pilot or lab level that needs to be scaled up. And there are a lot of solutions that could be within the academic sector that could be used by utilities and operators. And that, last but not least, is we need the representation of the river basin authorities, because decisions about the overall water resource are not taken only at city level, right? The city is part of a river basin, and the management of the water happens at that level. So we want to bring together these 4 key stakeholders in our meetings in order to tackle in a multidisciplinary way the issues. The 5 drivers that we wanted to focus on initially, I mean, again, this is a proposal, right? This is not cast in stone. This is something that you can change with your comments and edits. The 5 drivers that we would like to propose are water governance, data and information, cooperation, science, technology and innovation, and financing. And we're going to operate at 3 scales: the service scale, the city and metropolitan scale, and then we're going to basin scale. We propose a governance scheme that will have UNESCO serve as the secretariat, right? And then we will have an operational board, which is the participatory mechanism of the alliance. So this is where you will have all the initiatives being prepared and discussed. But then we will have a more of a formal decision mechanism, which is the governing board, which again has 2 elements. One is the regional, which will be at your level now. And then it's the global governing board, which will meet less often than the regional board, and they will be for the whole world. And of course, we leave some space for other actors, partners, and contributors that could come through the secretariat. The idea is that this is an alliance of megacities, so the boards will be occupied by megacities and their officials. And when I'm saying officials, it doesn't have to be an official of the municipality per se. It could be, though, an identifying academic and researcher, someone from the 4 key stakeholders, right? The officially identified people who will be participating. Then how can you participate it, right? We have, first of all, the multi-stakeholder model that governs things. Then we spoke about the governance mechanism. We will have a technical way that we do things with the water monographies. And we will have a network participation, because MAWAC will not be by itself, right? It will be benefiting from the Global Alliance for Water and Climate, where it's going to come in contact with other alliances on water and climate, which practically is the Business Alliance, is the Desalination Alliance, it's the one with the river basins, and then last but not least ours. And it will also benefit from UNESCO Cities platform that brings other issues related to life in a mega city, whether these are our Learning Cities network, we have our Inclusive Cities network. We have at least 6 more networks that could provide various benefits to the mega cities who will participate. And of course, you will have the UNESCO water family to support you. And by talking about the UNESCO water family, I'm not referring only to the secretariat, like myself, Philippe, our colleagues in Jakarta, or our colleagues in all the offices in Asia that are participating to this today event, but also the UNESCO water family that comprises from UNESCO chairs and centers. We We heard from Dr. Ali Savosian, who is the director of one such center. Other than supporting the megacity of Tehran, he's supporting the region, and actually he's going to be starting as of next year a very interesting project on non-conventional water resources management, which is practically an issue that we saw a lot of the megacities presenting on today, whether this is rainwater harvesting, treated wastewater for managed aquifer recharge, etc. So the whole family will be behind you, right? Now, there is the membership issue where, eligible will be practically people who have been officially appointed by the megacities, who will have a representation at different levels depending on the governance model of the megacity. It could be a governor or a mayor, or it could be the deputy mayor. And the application will be initially for 4 years, and it will be renewed according to the preference of the megacity. We're trying to find a model for funding this, offering different options, whether this will be external funding by international and regional donors or corporate partnerships, or internal funding, depending on the ability of each megacity through a subscription or voluntary contribution, etc. And then last but not least, we have a digital infrastructure that will help our communication channels. And for this, we will need also your input as to who will be having access to what. And last but not least is the communication issue. We need to make sure that the efforts that you are making are being diffused. And this will be done in major water events globally. The World Water Week, for example, that we're organizing now in August, sessions at the Conference of Parties for Climate, etc. World Water Forum and big events. Next slide, please. And the third item, as we mentioned, is the new water monographies, right? And this is where we want your input, and we would like to find out also from you who thinks that will be able to present such a water monography for their mega city in the January meeting. The idea is to provide a comprehensive picture of the water and climate change of the mega city itself, right? And we will have a digital publication that will be out there for everyone to access if they want to. It will be a relatively short document. It should not exceed 40 pages. And it has a certain structure that we are proposing. It has a part that requires some data. And as I said, this data will be used afterwards by all of you if you want. Don't forget that UNESCO is offering open access to its information so that you yourselves can make a comparative analysis or find out where you can learn from. But also for ourselves, because we want to prepare summary of this publication, and also to start having certain issue position papers related to commonly identified challenges, right? So there is an opportunity at the Second International Conference on Water, Megacities and Global Change to present these water monographies, whether this will be on a special session or on a side event. We will have to see based on the replies that we get from you. So please think about it. Within the invitation letter we have sent also the template for these new water monographies, and let us know who would be interested in presenting their water monography in January in Paris. Next slide, please. Okay, and last but not least is the reason why we are here today. is the regional meetings and a way forward for setting up a regional framework. So we are, as I said before, we're trying to regionalize the alliance. So we don't want to focus on a global body that then has a top-down approach, but we'd rather have regional chapters that feed a global body. And today is the very first regional meeting that we're trying to set up to get the ball rolling, as they say. So our proposal is that we will have a global meeting every 5 years, right? Whereas a regional conference can be more frequent. It could be once per year or once per 2 years. This will be your decision, right? So within the regional meetings, of course, each chapter will have its independence to, first of all, set up their own terms of reference. And based on these terms of reference, to have their frequency of their meetings, who will be representing what, etc. And then your regional meeting has to decide how it's going to be represented at the international meeting according to the strategic global framework. Then you will need to set up the objectives for the regional meetings. Of course, we want to enhance the regional dialogue and to strengthen the cooperation. And you will need to discuss on how you want to do this exchange of experiences. We can have, for example, a standing virtual meeting once a year and a standing face-to-face meeting every 2 years. This will be some of the things that we want to start discussing with you today, if possible, too, and to make sure that we discuss in the next meeting before the January meeting in Paris. So the idea is that, okay, this is a very first meeting to get to know a little bit about the concept of the alliance, what we want to set up, and then we would like to organize another meeting, at least one more meeting before the January meeting, to see how this cooperation can be done. So to discuss a little bit in terms of reference of the regional chapter of the Megacities Alliance, which could rely on the global, but it can be adapted to the reality of the region, or it could be totally different. It's upon you. And as I said, then we want to discuss a little bit the possibility of having water monographies. And if we can, if you think that these water monographies can be presented in January, right? And before we leave, for sure, we want to discuss the next meeting, where we hope that by that time, we will have even more megacities coming in. I need to apologize because the letters of invitation left relatively late to the permanent delegation. So most of you have received them literally the last minute. So a lot of megacities did not have the opportunity to receive the news, identify experts, and then send them to us. We're expecting that on the next meeting, because there will be more time that will have lapsed, we will have the opportunity to have more megacities participating, especially since Asia is the geographical area with the highest number of megacities in the world. So we want to organize another meeting, as I said, maybe in fall of this year, to discuss a little bit more, to find out a little bit more from other megacities who want to join their situation, what are their challenges and what are the solutions that they're having, just like we had a snapshot today from these 4 megacities. And then how the cooperation at a regional level will take place. Again, this is not mandatory. You can be participating even as observers, and when you feel that this is the right time, then you can enter. But just to let you know also that there's no, right now, also any responsibility from your side, at least from a financial point of view. I think that for the time being, UNESCO is facilitating the process, and megacities can participate on their own will and cost, right? We don't have this as a mandatory issue. You don't need to contribute anything if you cannot. Like we said, we have some mechanisms that need to be discussed on how this thing can work in the future, but this again will be discussed and decided by you. So let's go to the second part, which is the next steps in the preparation of a work plan and developing a framework. And that's where I would like to open up the floor. And if you don't mind, this time around, I would like to go around each megacity and get some views. So we have with us people from Jakarta, from Karachi, from Manila, from New Delhi. We have also from Seoul and Tehran. I understand that some of you are observers. We just want to take your opinion if you think that this, first of all, initiative is something that it's needed for the region. And if you agree with that, then at what level would you like to participate? And afterwards, also at when do you think it would be a good time for the second meeting? And what elements would you like to discuss during that second meeting? So if you don't mind, I would like to start in a alphabetical order. Okay, so I will start with our colleagues from Jakarta. I hope that we still have with us Mr. Dudi Gardesia Sikin.
Yes.
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. So can I please have your views for what we discussed just now? So we would like to find out, first of all, or at least reiterate in your case, the desire of Jakarta to be part of this. If you think that a platform of this sort is necessary for the region and globally. If yes, your willingness to participate in this, and then when do you think would be a good time for you to meet next time, and what items would you like to discuss? We discuss about the terms of reference, and maybe action plan that you might want to set up. Maybe it's too early for this, so we just talk about terms of reference, maybe an exchange of ideas. You let us know what you think. So the floor is yours.
Thank you for having me on this. Yes, it is a good platform that we can share our experience, and we also have a learning from other cities that as presented before, that we have a lesson learning that we can take as implementation in Jakarta. So it is this is a very fruitful discussion, and conference that I hope that it will be continued, that Jakarta will be chosen as a sample or a case study to propose or something, so our effort on becoming more sustainable city can be implemented. Maybe this for me.
Excellent. And do you have any preference, basically any dates that we should avoid in, for example, September? Is September a good time to have our second meeting, you think, or is there any big event in Indonesia or Jakarta that we should avoid?
We will discuss it internally, but so far, the September is no problem, I think.
Okay, thank you very, very much. So let me move afterwards to our colleagues from Karachi. I know that we had a number of colleagues from Karachi who were participating as observers. Now that they at least observed a little bit, can we have any expression of interest or of even participating still as observers, right? It doesn't have to be as, like fully committed, let's say, but at least wanting to follow the process.
Good afternoon. My name is Sana. I'm from Hisar Foundation and I'm representing Karachi. This is the first day that I'm joining this meeting. I was not able to join you yesterday, so I got a bit of a feel of the Megacities Alliance for Water and Climate. And I think the 4 presentations that we heard today are very informative, certainly a lot that we can learn from. I think Karachi's issues and challenges resonate with what the Jakarta presentation Jakarta presented in terms of urban flooding. That's a huge challenge for us. I think the Manila example of solid waste management also very interesting. Again, another big problem. And the river restoration in India, that's also something that Karachi can definitely learn from. So yes, I think this is a very good initiative. Karachi would definitely be interested to participate, and hopefully in the next meeting, perhaps we can get an opportunity to present our challenges and maybe solutions. And I think your next question was about timing. I think September sounds reasonable. And yeah, look forward to building alliances with this initiative and learning from different countries and cities.
Thank you very, very much. This is exactly what we wanted to find out, and we looking forward actually to hearing from you and learning how you're dealing with things in Karachi. And for sure, we will have time allocated for you to present the situation. It will be very interesting to us. I mean, for me, I'm enjoying the second day way more than the first day. The first day was more of our official opening, more political, more directions. But today we're getting more into the real essence of what are the challenges and how people are going about it so that we can understand better how we can cooperate. So it is a great opportunity. And I'm looking forward to see what is going to come from the Karachi side next time in September, hopefully.
Thank
so
you.
now, can I call upon Manila to take the floor and let us know their opinion? We had a presentation from Mr. Padilla, but is there a colleague from Manila who would like to take the floor at this point? I don't know if Mr. Padilla can hear us. Let's get back to Manila afterwards. Let's go to New Delhi. We had a very nice presentation from Mr. Nikhil Kumar. Could we have one of the representatives of New Delhi to take the floor and let us know their opinion? Do we have anyone from New Delhi? I don't see any hands. Okay, I see Mr. Min Oh, soon from Korea, I would assume. So from Seoul. Yes, the director of Water Circulation Policy Division in the Seoul city. Can you please have the floor, sir?
Hello.
We can hear you.
Lina?
Hello, can you hear us from Seoul?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, just for the smooth progress, will we also have some consecutive interpretation from Korean into English, if you don't mind? So Mr. Oh will be presenting in Korean, and then I'll be translating into English.
Okay, excellent. We're looking forward to it.
예, 안녕하십니까. 서울시의 물순환안전국의 오승민 팀장입니다.
Nice to meet you. I'm the Oh Seung-min, the manager of the Water Safety Bureau of the Seoul Metropolitan Government.
오늘 저희가 서울시는 이때까지 좀 이런 메가시티 협의체에 참석을 안 하다가 오늘부터 좀 참여한 계기가 된 것 같습니다.
I believe that on behalf of the Seoul Metropolitan Government, this is my first time to participate in the Megacities Alliance today.
그래서 이런 협의체에 가서 지금 서울시는 좀 상당히 좀 낯선 감이 없지 않아 있습니다. 이 조직에 대해서.
So indeed, it's also very not really familiar with me for the concept and as well as the idea about the MAWAC, the Conservative Alliance of the regional meeting today.
그래서 말씀하신 대로 저희 서울시는 일단 옵저버로서 지금 여러 가지 도시들이 하는 얘기와 뭐 내년에 열릴 1차 컨퍼런스에 대해서 뭐 어떤 것인지에 대해서 관심을 갖고 이야기를 듣는 과정이었던 것 같습니다. 오늘이.
So today, that's why we also participate in today's regional meeting as the observer and about listening to a lot of the other megacities opinions and ideas. And ahead of the second conference next year, in January next year, well, yes, it'll be also very valuable time to listen to a lot of the ideas from a lot of megacities around the region.
그래서 먼저 앞에 그 4개의 도시에서 말씀을 해주신 거를 좀 먼저 말씀을 드리자면.
So let me also highlight some of the key points presented by the four presenters.
결국 서울시도 같은 고민들이 다 있는 것 같습니다. 다만 같은 고민들이 있는 것 같습니다. 그런 지하수라든지 하수 재이용이라든지 여러 가지 이런 물 자원의 재이용에 관해서 서울시도 관심이 많고요.
So yes, it's also the honest that we also have the same issues and the challenges as felt by other megacities in the regions. We have also a lot of the issues and a lot of the interest in solving, for example, like underground or sewage water reuse, as well as the more facilitations of the water resources.
그리고 또한 기후 변화로 인해서 그런 이란 같은 경우에는 1월이나 12월에 많이 비가 오지만 서울 같은 경우에는 6, 7, 8월에 비가 집중되고 있거든요. 그런 집중호우로 인한 홍수, 침수 피해에 대해서 많은 또 저희들이 노력을 해왔고 앞으로 이거에 대한 대비를 더 해야 된다고 좀 생각은 하고 있습니다.
It's also presented by the Iran that the most of the rainfalls coming probably are done during the January or the February of the year. But actually in case of the Korea, we have the heavy rainfall, especially in summer season, which is from the January to August. So we also felt that we also need to take the more proactive actions and the countermeasures in dealing with the flood, like the natural disasters.
그렇죠. 결국 모든 나라에서의 고민들은 비슷한 것 같지만 그것들을 해결하는 방안들에 대해서 세부적인 계획에서 차이가 날 수가 있을 것 같은데 이거에 대해서 서로 공유를 하고 협력을 한다면 더 좋은 아이디어나 해결 방안이 도출될 것 같다는 생각이 좀 들고 있습니다.
As all the megacities are experiencing the same or the similar challenges or the issues in terms of the water management, of course, there may be some little differences in terms of the action plans or strategies, but if we put our heads together and then share our cooperations and our ideas, and then we can also derive the good and better solutions for the megacities in the region, I believe.
그런 차원에서 서울시도 이런 부분에 대해서 좀 기여를 할 수 있으면 좋을 거라고 생각은 하고 있습니다. 근데 그래서 뭐 2차 회의도 저희들은 뭐 필요하면 저희들은 참석할 의향은 있다고 말씀드리고 싶습니다.
So that indeed we also strongly believe that we can contribute significantly to the MATWAC here, and then probably if we need and if we can, and definitely we are delighted to participate in the second conference which will be held in the January next year as well. Yeah, that's the end from the comments. Thank you for listening.
Excellent. Thank you very, very much. First of all, for observing both days, both of the meeting, for being here and listening. And thank you also for taking the floor and confirming your desire to be part of this, at least alliance in the beginning, to see how we can move and we can enhance cooperation. As you said rightfully, the problems are similar, and if we come together, we can definitely find better solutions. So we're looking forward to having then Seoul presenting a little bit also in hopefully a September meeting. Would that be okay with you?
내부 논의를 통해서
We need some internal discussions to let you know if we can be the presenter for the next meeting.
하나 좀 부탁할게요.
Let me also add just one last comment from us.
Of course.
우리가 이제 회의에 참석하는 건 좋은데 가장 어려운 게 이 언어가 달라서 회의가 원활하지 않는 부분이 있다. 서울은 특히 이런 부분에 대해서 좀 해결이 되는 게 있다면 우리 좀 더 회의에 적극적으로 참여를 할 수 있을 텐데 그런 것들이 어떻게 좀 이런 유네스코 차원에서 이게 될 것인지 그런 부분이 좀 저희들은 궁금합니다.
Okay, definitely if we can, we are absolutely like to participate in the next conference and so forth. But the one problem from our side is the language barrier. So due to some of the language differences, we may feel that probably we are not really perfectly fitted in all the progress and processes due to the language barrier. So if those language problems are solved, for example, if there are any like assistance or support from the UNESCO side, and then that will be also appreciated as well.
I'm sorry, I was muted. If this is a barrier, we can definitely discuss it to see how we're gonna lift it so that we can have the benefit of your full participation. Don't worry, this is why we need this feedback from you so that we can make sure that the next time you feel comfortable to participate. So don't worry, we can make these arrangements so that we can have your participation in all of our meetings. So we just need to know in advance, and then we can try to see with our colleagues responsible for your city to take care of this item. But we can definitely support you on that end. No worries.
Because especially for today's the meeting, we have also invited a professional interpreter for the translation today. But yeah, so some of the language barriers are the one of the problems and issues that we have to deal with. So that's why we also share the comments. Thank you.
We thank you for actually getting the professional interpreter to be with you these past 2 days. Thank you very much.
네, 오늘 이렇게 통역사분 같이 이렇게 배석해 주셔서 진행 참여해 주셔서 감사하고요. 네. Thank you.
Thank you. Now that we heard from Seoul, I just want, we heard for Miss Hamdani before, who she did expressed her desire to have Tehran being an active part of this effort. But I'm just going to give the floor back to Tehran to let us know also about the opportunity for a September meeting, if that suits them, to provide us with their input to at least the elements that we produce about maybe a water monography. So can we have the colleagues from Tehran to come in?
Okay, thank you, Alex. I will take the floor, and whenever it is necessary, Ms. Ansari will actually do intervention. First of all, thank you very much for your nice explanation, and I'm very happy to be part of this initiative. Regarding the time, Alex, actually, well, first of all, 15 and 16 September are somehow a busy schedule for us. So these 2 dates is not possible. But in general, as you know, as you may know, this Friday we are going to have election. And in this election, actually, the new administration, including Tehran Mayor and Tehran City Council. So I'm not sure by September, do we have already actually, because we have to elect the Tehran City Council, then within a month or 2 months, they will elect the mayor and new administration. So as we could postpone it, for instance, in the late September or October is much better for us, but I understand you have your own constraint and limitation. So whatever you made a decision, we will try to adjust ourselves. Just for your information, we may have some kind of actually busy schedule for the new administrations and so on and so forth.
I'm certain of it, Ali. And just to let you know, it's the same thing also for France, right? We have local elections now in June. So Paris is moving towards the same sentiment. Enough said. What we will do is we will most likely propose a couple of weeks for everyone to decide, and we will go with the majority. We will do a doodle and we will circulate to everyone who was participating today, and we will also send letters officially to suggest these dates for the next meeting. But please keep in mind that as Ali said, we will do it then towards the end of September, maybe the 3rd week of September, because the 4th week of September we have also our bureau meeting of the IHP, most likely followed by an extraordinary session of the council to discuss issues of program, because we will not have the chance to do it in June. And then we just need to find out the executive board of UNESCO that takes place usually in October, when, so that we can move it maybe in the beginning of October, and this way offer more time for things to happen from a governance perspective. Okay, excellent. What about water monography, Ali? Do you think that Tehran could maybe put together, I mean, we can show you, we will send you again to all of you all the annexes we have sent with the letter, just in case, so you have them. It is a detailed work, so I know that you cannot really right now 100% say, but do you think that you would be able to at least try towards January?
Yeah, of course, Alexander, and that would be somehow, I think Tehran Megacity can work on it. But, you know, I wanted to mention 2 more points to you, Alexander. One is related to this monograph. As a matter of fact, the data of this monograph mostly is within Ministry of Energy, not within Tehran municipality. And today, fortunately, we have from both sides, from Tehran municipality, Dr. Ansari already actually mentioned, she is willing to support this initiative. And yesterday, Mr. Kashfi from Ministry of Energy, he read the statement and he was quite actually committed himself to support this initiative. So by this combination, I'm rather actually relaxed, and I believe Tehran could develop that monograph. However, you know, we have to somehow think not only for Tehran, but also maybe some other mega cities. They have a kind of dual management system. Water is managed by different organizations, and city is managed, of course, by municipality. I know this is tricky, and I myself don't have any clear answer for this because I'm also Regional Center on Urban Water Management. And always I have this problem with different cities, and I don't have any clear answer. I'm sure you are well experienced and you have actually some solutions for dealing with this. I have another comment later. After this, I will take.
No, this is exactly one of the items we want to tackle. You must have seen from all the presentations today that there is, when it comes to the water governance aspect in a mega city, it's never simple. And even from your own presentation, when it comes to floods and disaster risk reduction, you see that yet the Ministry of Interior comes into place. So while we're talking about infrastructure, there are certain actors involved and water resources management. Then when we're talking about flood management, drought management, there are others. So one of our reasons to do this is actually to learn also from that aspect, to see how is the situation in each country and mega city. And at the end of the day, to see even if we can learn anything from that exercise too, because it's not going to be only from an innovation, technological, technical solution that we're going to learn from each other, right? We want to make sure that if there is a solid, let's say, legal framework or you know, a solid way of doing the master plan, even the methodology can be transferred, you know, but also to go to that issues of governance and learn what is more fluent, let's say, what seems at least to work better, and see if this can be adapted, because it cannot be adopted for sure, but adapted to the reality of the other megacities. So this is true. We are well aware of it, that, for example, in Paris, for the Paris metropolitan area, it's not the mayor of Paris, right? It's the president of the greater metropolitan area of Paris that we're dealing with. In Lagos, it's the governor. Same thing with New York City. So the governance mechanism is different. At this point, we are well aware of it, you know, and we don't expect that this thing will be solved immediately. That's why we want to have this dialogue to understand better what are the issues, to also start mapping it out so that we know afterwards who else we want to bring. Our advantage is that we are an intergovernmental organization. We can write to your government and request officially from any actor involved their official involvement to the initiative. And hopefully we get a positive reply, as we did for Iran and Tehran, and we move ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. And my last comment, actually, my second and last comment. Well, thank you very much. You very kindly mentioned my center, regional center on urban water management, which is the scope of activities basically based on Central Asia. Just very brief, quick, you know, since 2002, we work on the issue of urban water management at the highest level, at minister and mayor level. And I'm very pleased if, as a regional scope, RCUWM can do any contribution to this initiative. But I know this is mega city, and maybe in my region, except Tehran and Istanbul, maybe not so many mega cities in this area, but anyway, future mega city, maybe we have some potential candidate. Anyway, if RCWM can do any contribution, especially with respect to Bangladesh, India are also member of our governing board. And I'm very happy that today we listened very nice presentation from New Delhi. I learned a lot. And I believe this could somehow, as you mentioned, a kind of contribution from UNESCO water family to this initiative. And that's all from myself.
Exactly. And just to let our colleagues know what I was saying before about the UNESCO water family coming in, Dr. Savosian is the director of one of our centers. In the region, we have other centers too, others focusing on eco-hydrology, others focusing on integrated water resources management. And all of these centers who are specialized in their own field will come in to support the different activities identified by the mega cities that they would like to pursue. So based on the activities, based on the action plan that hopefully the mega cities will put forward, we will then identify which members of the UNESCO water family can come and support these efforts, technically at least, to see how they can improve their situation. So for sure, this is one of the strengths of UNESCO. UNESCO's strengths are the chairs and the centers, right? And we will definitely have them to come in.
Thank you.
Okay, I want to ask if anyone else wants to come in before I start summarizing a little bit this part of our meeting. Okay, I don't see any hands being risen. So first of all, I would like to thank you all for staying the whole 2 days. And for those who even joined us today, it's a great opportunity to enhance cooperation among megacities in the region. And by you being here, at least this kind of validates this opportunity that it can happen eventually. As far as the next steps concerns, as we said, what we will do is we'll send you, now that we have your contacts, the possibilities for a next meeting. We will send you the different items that were sent to the municipality officially through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And in order to be able to start this dialogue on the different items that we propose to tackle within the alliance. As I said before, this is not making you have to do anything, right? You will do whatever you think you could do within the framework of the alliance. You can see whether you can offer a water monography, what would be your presence both in September, October, and the January meetings, etc. You can let us know about your ideas about how this regional chapter can work. We have a strategic global framework, which is for the global alliance, and it could be adapted for the regional alliance, or you can just borrow some of the elements and then draw your own terms of reference on how these things will work. We would like to get things organized, though, in the sense that this group should have a terms of reference on what they will be doing, and then should move in the development of an action plan. Like there should be a few common elements that you would like to tackle in the next 2-3 years that we can put forward, and then we can see how we can move ahead about tackling them. And last but not least is your presence in the January global meeting. So having said that, I think that we are practically ready to close this first regional meeting of the Megacities Alliance for Water and Climate. I would like to ask our colleagues in Jakarta of the availability of the director to officially close the meeting, because I know that he is extremely busy these days, but I see him coming up on the screen. So I would like to thank you all for your participation, regardless of the different challenges you have. We saw that Seoul went ahead and they hired their own interpreters to make sure that at least can participate to do. We saw that Karachi also came in for the second day, and we are grateful to both of them. And without further ado, I would like to ask our director, Mr. Thelstroop, to close officially the meeting. Thank you from my side.
Thank you very much, Alex, and thank you everyone for your participation both yesterday and today in this first meeting for Asia and the Pacific in the context of the Megacities Alliance for Water and Climate. As you will have noticed, what we're doing these 2 days, and as Alex has outlined now in this discussion, we're taking the first steps towards seeing how we as a region, how Asia and the Pacific can get the most out of this initiative, the Alliance at the global level, and how we might best organize ourselves here in this part of the world. I'd like to thank the presenters today. We heard the details on the implementation of water and climate issues from Jakarta, from Manila, from New Delhi, from Tehran. We had a chance to learn in depth some of the issues that we could focus on. As Alex said, we would like to try and identify maybe a few key priorities that we could take forward and tackle within the MAWAC framework. And of course, these were things like solid waste management and river restoration, urban rivers, flood management, many issues that affect megacities across the region. But clearly, we need more time to discuss that. We need a wider participation. There are more megacities in the region that could join us. So the idea of coming together again during the second half of the year, perhaps around October, to pick up our discussion here and bring it forward so that we are ready with a strong regional presence and with a regional platform and with some priorities to share with the rest of the world by January. So that really is what we have aimed to start during these 2 days discussion. I don't want to go into all of the details of the presentation that Alex has just done. I'm sure you have those well in mind still. We looked at this global strategic global framework. I think it's very important that the emphasis is on this multi-stakeholder model, that it's not about having, say, only decision makers or only utilities or only the private sector, but it's really a matter of bringing everybody together around these discussions in the Alliance. You have the support of the UNESCO water family. We had Dr. Ali Chawashan here with us today as an example, the head of a regional UNESCO center on urban water management. He's joined by IHP national committees and UNESCO academic chairs and other centers around the region that are ready to support and engage with this process. So this support mechanism is very important, and we'll try and bring that in again, I think, when we come together later in the year. We heard about the water monographies, an interest from Tehran to maybe prepare a monography, and if there are other cities who are interested in presenting what they do in 40 pages or less, there is this possibility, and I think we should come back to that as well. It is an opportunity to gain a bit of extra visibility for your work and for your city at the Omega conference and in the other activities of the Alliance going forward. We talked about the regional framework. We should have a way of organizing ourselves here in Asia and the Pacific. My feeling is that we should not make that too heavy. Maybe as one example could be, we come together once a year virtually, and maybe once every 2 years, we try to organize something face to face. We can also see how we wish to structure the organization amongst ourselves in this part of the world. As you heard, we have the freedom to do that within the overall global framework, and UNESCO here in Jakarta and in all of our 13 other field offices across Asia and the Pacific are ready to help support that process. I was very happy to hear the comments from cities on the regional approach. Generally, it was very positive from Jakarta, from Karachi, from Seoul, from Tehran. You all saw plenty of reason to be part of the Alliance, plenty of ideas for things to share and interest in learning from others. I think that's the best possible point of departure we can have. If there is that interest and that willingness to learn from one another, then we have all the reason we need to come together and meet again and move towards the January conference. I'd like at the very end, maybe just to pick up on one of the things that was commented on at the very end, and this goes back again to the multi-stakeholder model. Water governance is complex. The management of megacities is complex. Managing water and climate within the megacity context requires the contributions of many entities, many stakeholders. So we need to be open to take those discussions across sectors and learn from one another on how we ensure the most appropriate, most representative, and most efficient modality for really making a difference and making this alliance count. For those of you who were there yesterday, in the opening remarks, I mentioned that it's very often we hear, oh, the megacities of Asia are very vulnerable. They have many problems. It's very difficult for them. I'd like to take this opportunity for this alliance in Asia and the Pacific to say, well, yes, the challenges are great, but so is the capacity, so is the ambition, so is the ability to change and ensure a sustainable future for Asia, the megacities of Asia. I think this is an opportunity to change the discourse a bit and to move from focus on the vulnerability to focus on the resilience and the innovation and the forward-looking nature that we have and that we've seen in the presentations during this meeting. So on that positive note, let's make this alliance about how we create that visibility and that strength. I thank you again very much for your participation. I thank all the colleagues today, Philippe and Alex, our two moderators, all of the staff in our office in Jakarta and in all the offices around the region and at headquarters who contributed to this event. Thank you for your patience. As Alex said, the letters went out somewhat late. The fact that you were all here, willing to discuss with us something completely new at short notice is testament to your commitment and goodwill. And we greatly, greatly appreciate that. Once we come again next time, we will all know this concept much better and we'll be much more familiar with the idea of the Alliance and so better able to formulate how we want to take it forward. So thank you so much. It was wonderful to meet all of you. I look forward to being in touch. So you also heard, we'll be sending out doodle pools for the timing of the next discussion, and we'll be sharing much more information as we approach the next meeting and the January conference. Thank you very, very much on behalf of all of us, our Assistant Director General and all of the colleagues who were here in yesterday's session. Have a very good rest of the day and rest of the week, and look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. Good evening.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.